Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. I'm Stephanie Fisher. I'm a licensed counselor here in the state of Michigan, and I am owner and operator of In Progress Counseling. We are in part 6 of our kind of considerations during transitions and what might be some of the experiences we're having. What are some of the mechanistic things that are at play? What are some of the things we maybe want to process through and account for? So in the last video, I brought in that theory of entropy and how entropy is this discomfort with uncertainty that then it requires a lot of energy to reorganize and make sense out of things. And so when I'm at the front end of a big task, that overwhelm, or for some people that immobilization, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of reasons why we might gridlock, why we might feel particularly prickly. And I'm not condoning bad behavior. I'm saying the stress that we feel at the front end of a transition, it's actually incredibly explainable. It's very normal. What we do with that stress is on us to decide. But my desire here is to language and to give you kind of movement through, like, oh, maybe that's what's happening here. So one of the things that I've had to grow in maturity, I'm telling you, friends, I've used that phrasing of Wreck-It Ralph. I can be very Wreck-It Ralph sometimes, where I just come in and I'm just like, let's handle all the things, right? And it can be very effective. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. But let's talk about that idea of entropy, where I'm already feeling the load or the intensity of uncertainty and transition and new steps. Now, what if I couple that with unrealistic timelines or severe timelines? That can be a place where our whole system tailspins. And so one of the things, and we've talked about it in historical videos, but one of the things that is really important to think through is recalibrating our expectation of timelines and deadlines and when I'm going to have something accomplished by. So I mentioned in the last video that felt sense of like 836 tasks for the writing project that I'm doing. Now it's middle of April, and I want to invite you to conceptualize with me this felt sense of 836 tasks. What if I give myself 6 weeks to do that? Boy, that puts 100+ tasks every single week that I'm going to be feeling pressure under the gun, get it done, 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 done. Let's say I give myself, you know what, Steph, really aim for start of July. Okay, well, now I have, 10 weeks. Now I've reduced the load per week, or my conceptualization of how much effort I have to put in week to week. I've reduced it to maybe 80 tasks a week. What if I say, by August? Well, now I've given myself 14 weeks. What I'm pointing out is if there's not an external deadline, my task is to, create best efforts, best attempts, and ranges for myself. And my job is to not further task the system and even tank the system. Now, can I sprint for 6 weeks? Sure. But can I do the same amount of work over 10 weeks or 14 weeks? A lot of times, yes. And sometimes we get so intense on the timelines that what it does is it puts just an inordinate amount of stress on the system, and I become the person who's doing the 100+ tasks a week for me to be okay. Friends, my whole relational system is going to be affected by that intensity. So my husband and my friends and my communities are going to feel me either withdraw or shut down or have a hairpin trigger or be really prickly. If someone is not saying to me, Steph, 6 weeks because there's this deadline or there's this cutoff, this pass-fail mark, my job is to work ranges and flexibility in the system. And so this is where putting together a calendar can be really helpful, where I say, I'd like to have these tasks done by end of May. I'd like these ones done by end of June. Ideally, these ones would be done by end of July. I can be as arbitrary as I want. The reality is I have until next, I think, March or April to do things. I'd like to be done in completion by December. But the more intensity I put on myself, when the system is already being asked to organize and use a lot of energy, I can do really big harm both to myself and to those around me, potentially, by putting heightened expectations around timing. And so even if I were, reorganizing my office here and I decided you have to be done by 10 p.m. tonight, it's like, or what? Can you work on it tomorrow? Could you finish it up next week? Could you set it down, pick it back up? Like, that's psychologically quite healthy. When we lock ourselves into like all or nothing, it has to be done by this time, we can further tax the system. So that's the invitation today. Can we create flexibility in our expectations of self? Can we put things into frameworks and into timelines and into sequencing? If we can, the entire process, it feels a touch more manageable. This is especially generous to yourself when you're at the front end of a learning curve, because that's already such a huge place of energy expenditure. So that's the invitation today, hoping that as we go through this little series here, you're giving yourself permission to really become complex in how you're navigating transitions, thoughtful, and ideally proactive, making some choices with the knowns in mind, and then kind of accounting for the unknowns will come up as you move your way through a transition. And we can be intentional and thoughtful with timing and pacing and reasonable expectations of ourselves.